Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking this time out to listen. I titled this message on learning people, and I dedicate it to my late grandmother because some of what I'm going to talk about is some very wise things that she told me over the years. And to some of you relatives who did not connect with this woman while she was alive, please do take heed to what I'm about to tell you on learning people. This was a woman who was very skilled at sitting down and watching the mannerisms of people. She could tell you some things in the spiritual realm about people. She could sit down with these individuals and advise them on a number of things that they did not know that she knew about them because they didn't say anything. And for some people, it was scary. They couldn't define her as being a witch or a psychic or anything worldly. The church couldn't really define her either because some churches simply don't believe in prophetic gifting. So for her, she was a lone wolf, if you will. She was a black sheep in her family. She was the type of person that knew too much for some folks. Okay. And so when you sat in her presence, you could feel that something was about to go down, that she was going to tell you something about yourself that you didn't want anyone to know about. You could feel like there were some things that she was going to call you out on, and you thought that she forgot all about them. To be in a presence of someone who is wise, who is God-fearing, who God has gifted them, can be an interesting experience. It can make you feel good. It can make you feel happy, but it can also make you feel sad. It can make you feel scared. It can make you feel very uncomfortable. But this is how it is, though, when we walk close with the Lord. We're going to experience a myriad of emotions. When you are praising the Lord and you're in deep prayer and you're fasting, you're going to go through many things when it comes to God, because He is defining and breaking and changing and rebuilding and restoring. All these prayers that you put out there, God is doing a number of things in your mind, body, and spirit. Too many people want to work with just the mind and body and ignore the spirit. And this was a woman who, she didn't ignore your spirit. She saw your spirit afflicted. She saw your spirit hurting. She saw your spirit going through a number of issues. She saw your spirit when it was happy and content. And so therefore, she would encourage you. She would warn you. She would praise you. She would do any number of things that God led her to do. So when we are learning people, what are we learning? What are we really looking for? Well, I will tell you the closest thing that could describe learning someone would be similar to a person going out on a date. Okay? I want to make it plain for some of you all. You know that you've got to discover some things about a person in order to continue to go out on dates with them. And so you're going to observe the way they talk, the way they dress. You're going to listen to what they say about their family, their friends, the workplace. You're going to notice how they react in the setting to other people. You are going to even sniff a little bit to see if they take care of themselves, okay? You're going to look at their environment when the opportunity comes to see if they know how to take care of their environment. And at some point, as you get to learn more about them, you are going to find out things about their finances, their faith, their political affiliations, their connections to people, places, and things in the neighborhood, what their habits are, their interests. You're going to find out about those exes. You're going to find out if they have some children. So you're learning them, okay? You're learning them. You're learning what makes them tick. In the spiritual realm, though, God, Lord Jesus, if you trust in Him, God is going to show you the things that matter. The things that matter to you as you get to know these people. Because sometimes we think that certain things matter to us, and they don't. They really don't. Sometimes God is saying, no, what you thought you needed to know about this person, oh, that's nothing compared to what I'm going to tell you. That's nothing compared to what I'm going to show you. And so when we are resting in God's loving arms, when we are trusting in him, when we are praying, behind closed doors when these people aren't around, what we are looking for is the type of information that is going to benefit us, that is going to use us in such a way to help that person. Is this person really meant to be my helpmate or just my friend? Is this person going to help me pursue my career? Is this person going to be good for my children? I mean, sometimes we get distracted by all of the glitter and the gold with some folks that we forget that, this person might be a potential father or mother to my children. I better pay close attention. Do they have some abusive ways about them? Are they controlling? Do they have some unresolved issues? Are they using the church as a cloak, as a covering? Okay. Are they really learning about the things of the Lord while they are there, or is it nothing more than a social network? Okay. You see, we've got to go deep. We've got to go deep. We've got to think deeply when we are learning people. And so going back to that wise woman who sat in front of folks who she never laid eyes on until then, she was looking for things like how you responded to her questions. She was looking at your hands, and she was looking at your eyes, and she was also looking at the aura around you. She was allowing the Lord to put visions in front of her that showed her what kind of person you were spiritually. Were you really close to the Lord like you claimed? Were you really about God's business? Were you putting on airs, if you will? Were you being fake with the information that you were giving her? You see, she was studying you. She was looking at how you blinked your eyes. Were you blinking your eyes a little too much when she asked certain questions? Were you looking everywhere but at her when she was trying to get you to speak some real truth to her? She asked you how you were doing. That was the first question. How are you doing? And then your response might be good. No, that's not good enough for the wise woman. How are you really doing? She would emphasize. And you would say, well, and now you're going to start telling the truth, because you know you don't really feel as good as you claim. And then she was going to look at you, and she was going to see where the sadness was. And then she was going to point out the sadness to you, or she was going to point out the disappointments or the frustration. Before you got ready to say too much to her, she allowed God to intervene and cut you off. See, because sometimes we run our mouths too much. And so therefore she doesn't want to get so much information where God isn't getting the glory. So she's going to cut you off and say, hold up. Wait a minute. Let me tell you something. Okay, I hear what you're saying. And then she would proceed to tell you, listen, I'm seeing in the spirit, or I'm hearing, or what is this that I feel that's going on? Or what is it that you're not really telling me? Because it seems like you're still putting up a front. You're still acting fake. Okay. Oh, some people didn't like a person like this. You see, I told you, some folks, oh no, here we go. You're going to start getting all up into my soul, my being. Oh, I'm not, no. You see, because people who don't have a reverence for the Lord or for the people of the Lord or the things of the Lord, they get real nervous in the presence of someone like this. I mean, even believers get nervous in the presence of someone like this. Okay. So here at some point, someone who doesn't want to come truthful is either going to defend, argue, minimize the situation, blame, say, oh no, you're wrong about that. And I have seen that. And I will tell you that all that does is allow for God to pick you apart. Okay. Suck you like a chicken bone. Okay. That's what he's going to do. Oh, you want to argue, defend, and minimize and come up with a number of things. Okay. Well, before you leave, because at some point you see the offended person or the one that is private wants to get up, and go somewhere else and they don't want to listen anymore and all of that. But before you go, you see, the wise woman was going to tell you just a little bit more for you to think about before you walked out that door, you see. Oh, I know that I offended you just now by what I said to you, but let me leave you with this. And then she would proceed to tell them whatever it might be. Okay. Some people that we are learning, that we are discovering, when we see that they like to minimize blame and project their issues onto you, or say that you're lying, or you don't know what you're talking about, or know you're incorrect about whatever, but then you haven't really given them enough information yet, but they're just cutting you off with, well, no, that's not right. That's not correct. Okay. These people are troubled individuals. Usually mental disorders of some sort show up. These people sometimes don't have any mental disorders. They just don't like your type. Sometimes these individuals are very private, and they don't want to share any information because you're getting too close to things that they're not ready to talk about. Some folks will just sit there and be quiet and let you talk, because they're very careful not to reveal anything, because they want to see if you're really about God's business, especially when they're a believer and you're a believer. They're testing you. It's not so much that God is using you to give them any information that they don't already know. It's just that they've got to test you to see if you really are a good person for them. You see, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. You see, when I'm looking at you, when I'm discovering some things about you in the way that you're delivering the prophetic, I'm just trying to figure out whether or not you are in fact of the Lord, and are you really a benefit to me, you see, because there were times where the wise woman, my late grandmother, would just sit back and just watch. God didn't tell me to tell you anything. Oh, really? Nope. She's just watching you. She's learning about you, you see. So there's so much in getting to know people, those ones that are supposed to be in your inner circle. Because you see, if you follow these messages long enough, you know that we talked a lot about getting rid of certain folks. And we talked about our victories as well when we got rid of those individuals. And we talked about the warnings of some of these toxic folks that we need to pay attention to. And now we are trying to build some type of network, right? We're trying to build an inner circle to replace all of those toxic folks that God had us kicked to the curb. And so we've got to do that by learning folks, by discovering people and what their role is in our lives, because some people are meant to be in our lives for a long time. Others are just temporary. And so if I'm not taking the time out to get to know these individuals and study and test and ask questions and follow up and, keep some type of dialogue going, if I'm not willing to do any of that, then my circle is going to not grow very much. Okay. It's just not. God is going to put certain people in your life. It is up to you to make sure that you maintain those relationships. Some people are going to come in as advisors and advise you about the things you're weak about. We're supposed to be open to that. There will be those individuals that are going to come in that are going to share some information that they were told by certain relatives, friends, people like that. And it will be up to you to, speak truth. There will be those individuals that will come that are strangers to you, that you've never laid eyes on, but they have a whole lot to give you. There are those individuals that will be coming and you have a whole lot to give them. So as these people show up in your life, both on the internet and off the internet, make sure that you're putting your flesh in check too, because some people think that every nice looking person that comes into their camp is someone that they should be pursuing some type of relationship with. Some think that they might even be potential mates. And meanwhile, God is saying, no, that is not your mate. I have somebody else. And that person may not look as fine and beautiful and wonderful and youthful or mature as that one that you got your eyes on. Okay. But all the same, that individual is someone who God is working on for you. But it doesn't mean that we are supposed to just assume that everybody that shows up is somebody that we're supposed to connect with on that level. I will tell you that I made that mistake years ago. I was so in love, and I am still in love with the Lord, but I'm talking about I was on that zealous path where I was still very much new and growing, and I wanted somebody to be in my life. And so when the individual showed up, I made the round hole, or made the square peg fit into the round hole, okay? Without giving too much detail, but you know what I mean. And by doing that, I ended up having to serve my time. Some of you all who are believers, you are serving your time right now because you connected with people in an intimate level that you shouldn't have. And now you're trying to get rid of this person, and you're saying, Lord, can you please just make a way for this person to leave, because you know that we are just not getting along. This is not the person that I should have been with, and all of that. And the Lord says, oh no, but you're going to serve your time with Leah. You're going to serve your time with Leah. I know you want Rachel, but you're going to serve your time with Leah, because back when I told you to slow down, to spend more time with me, to read my word, because you're straying, you're not where you're supposed to be, you didn't want to do that. So now you're going to spend your time with a woman that you don't love. Okay? And there are men right now who are in relationships where they don't love these women, but they got babies with them. That other woman has their heart. That one that got away is the one that they're really in love with. But the Lord said, but you're not getting her. But even if everything, doesn't pan out, you still will not win that one. Even if we go out on a date, even if you still won't win that one. Because once again, sometimes we just go off in directions that we shouldn't have. So what we think is for us is really not for us. If you recall in the Bible, Rachel, she was a barren woman, you see. So some folks go after folk and don't know what their condition is privately. And then they find out the hard way. And then they're disappointed. Well, God didn't tell you to be with that person, but all the glitter and gold around them told you to be with that person, you see. They didn't take the time out on learning the individual. And some folks will say, well, the only way I would have known this, that, and the other is if I, had sex with them or moved in with them. Oh, there's so many other ways to get to know people. And I have talked about this in audios about dating. Okay. You don't have to always resort to the major move because your emotions are going haywire, or because you want to keep certain dogs, out the yard. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to rush into this and make sure that, she's on lock with me, or he's on lock. And then you find out that you didn't have to do all that, because you could have went on a doctor's appointment with them. You could have talked to a friend. You could have talked to them. You could have snooped through some paperwork. I mean, you could have done any number of things if you really wanted to know something about someone without sleeping with them or moving in with them. Okay. And that was something that I had to learn the hard way. Okay. If you don't have to go those routes, avoid them. And I really don't believe that you have to go those routes. I thought that in my situations back in the day, notice I said plural situations, I thought that I needed to go those routes in order to figure folks out. But if I had sense back then and had used some of my intuition, if you will, and paid closer attention to how my grandmother would learn folks, study folks, then I could have saved myself a whole lot of drama. Not that long ago, I was grappling with the fact that I had missed so many signs concerning a man many years ago that I had been deeply in love with. And there were so much going on with him that showed that he had a dark side when I look back. But when I was in it, I couldn't see what was going on. And I just assumed that we were going to go through the normal process of we were going to continue to date, then eventually move in together. Then once we moved in together, we were going to get married, have children, all of that. Notice the order of events was even weird, wrong. Okay, so then I find out that some weird stuff started showing up that if I had been paying close attention, I wouldn't have had to move in with him to find out. And I wouldn't have had my heart broken either through the process. And he discovered some things about me back then too. And he could have saved himself some heartache. Because back in those days, I wasn't Miss Faithful, okay? Because I was still, as they say, sowing the oats. And that's not a good thing either. You know, going around and doing some things because you want attention, or because somebody said something nice to you, or because you thought somebody was cute. I mean, really, you are putting yourself at risk. And then you find out the hard way that folks just like to charm people, and they just like to see who they can get. It's a sporting event for some people to connect with men and women. It's not that they love them or even really like them. It's just cool to be able to go out and do this, that, and that in their eyes. Until somebody ends up pregnant, or until somebody ends up having some type of STD. Now it's not so fun. It's not so nice anymore, you see. But you could have learned a whole lot about those folks without doing all of that. You see, the writing was on the wall with some of those charmers. When the phone was ringing while they're talking, and they got this weird look on their face, and you know it's a female. The writing is on the wall when the female left her stuff in his car. No matter what excuse he came up with, if it's over and done, why is her stuff in the car? She's marking her territory. She's letting those other women that she assumed he's riding around know that I'm here. Then there are those that I remember had their share of issues with their mothers. Okay, that was a clear sign. You don't need to be dating him. He has problems with his mother. You see? And then there's just so much stuff I could go on and on about. But my point is that you can learn people, and you don't need to do anything drastic in order to learn them. And if you allow the Lord to use those vision, signs, wonders, dreams, and all of that before you get too close to people, you can save yourself a lot of time and money. So I hope that this has been a blessing to some of you all, because we are going to continue to talk about these people, places, and things that are distractions in our walk with the Lord. So please do continue to connect with me at NM Enterprise 7 YouTube.